Welcome, this is Solomon. I'm repurposing one of my old channels here. From now on will be new content. Or shall I say old? I'm starting with a big shout out, respect and thanks for a couple of specific channels who sort of activated my understanding, and since then the veil was pulled over my eye and I cannot unsee. So big thanks, and without order, just listing them up now. John Levy, Autodidactic Campbell, Olaf the Swerker, Wim C, and Berserker Birr. There are more and more emerging and starting their own investigation, understanding and sharing, and it's mind-blowing. So I highly recommend to just sit back, relax, hydrate and enjoy.
The world hangs on a thin thread, and that is the psyche of man. Nowadays we are not threatened by elementary catastrophes. There is no such thing as an H-bomb. That is all man's doing.
Yeah.
We are the great danger. The psyche is the great danger. What if something goes wrong with the psyche?
Yeah.
See? And so you see, it is demonstrated to us in our days what the power of the psyche is of man, how important it is to know something about it, but we know nothing about it.
So for me, first was John Levy's one of his videos about a World Fair. What's going on there? I asked. Why am I seeing the same buildings as I worked in Budapest? 10 years from my office saw the Museum of Fine Art. How is it possible that the almost exact building is built at multiple times around multiple places in the past, yet no one talks about it? So I desperately tried to rationalize it by maybe the guy sold the same plan to multiple clients, or these architects were a really thin elite layer of society, like, I don't know, Freemason or what, that these guys were traveling, building, planning. But it didn't make any sense, as the more I watched, the more it made sense to start to find out my own interpretation, my own understanding, and that really helped. So I'll try to look into this church, its history. Detached 3-bay double-height Roman Catholic church, built between 1932 and 9, having copper-plated pitched roofs, copper dome, and with twin towers with clock faces flanking in the pedimented entrance facade. South. Apsidite chancel to north. Towers surmounted by Doric Baroque campaniles, crowned by octagonal towers and OG copper domes with cross finials over. Situated in a very prominent location, dominating the west bank of the River Shannon in the center of the town. However, this church seems slightly out of place in its riverside location facing the massive bulk of the medieval castle. It's north-south. So then I went into the architect. He was called Ralph Henry Bryan, born 1877, died 1946. And I've checked the works of this gentleman, and it is massive. 343 work entries listed in chronological order. Massive amount of churches, cathedrals, hospitals, banks, you name it. It is, I cannot even fathom, like how can you design a cathedral in a week? But otherwise, how would else could happen that you design 343 cathedrals, churches? And I checked, there is a similar cathedral in Mullingar, about 25 kilometers away. That one is a cathedral, this is a church. And I couldn't figure out why, probably because it doesn't face east. And I looked into the maps, I found a little bit of discrepancies, and I don't think we need to say much more besides this was built in 1930s. So if I think about it, this was during the Great Depression, just the English left the occupation, and they immediately would start building huge cathedrals without any sign of construction, preparation, no rumble, not a single photo I could find. So that baffled me. And we all know why. Because they found it. And I flew another drone before here. Sometimes I work in this town, and it is massive. 2,000 people it can accommodate. So imagine you just got liberated from the British occupation, and then like people with donkeys, rural island. Even now, it's so small town, doesn't make any sense to have this huge cathedral. And near town, Mullingar has a similar one, same time built, allegedly, by the same gentleman, and that's also an almost insignificant small town, so to speak. So just wanted to share because it is majestic. This is another church in Athlone. It's called St. Mary's Roman Catholic Church, dated to 1855 to 65. There's a lot of description of the style, located in elevated position that dominates the north side of Athlone. It was a bit difficult to film because what happens here is that there is this huge lake near Athlone, and the morning breeze will make a lot of movement in the air, and the drone was constantly making its own commands. I wanted to really get close, but then I realized it's not the day. And fun fact, I recorded this on St. Patrick's Day, 7 AM, and then a couple of hours later I clicked to the website and I saw the live broadcast, and there was this whole church stuff going on with the priest, and it's kind of fascinating. But this design, astonishing. There is no one in our current culture who could know how to build such things. This is completely lost knowledge. And even when they do, they imitate these things. But those are obviously fake. You see, it's concrete and it's not the same intricate details. And common sense would dictate by now we would have higher technology, more sophistication, yet you don't see these kind of things to be built, right? The reason is that this was another civilization, and many will deny. Doesn't matter. So this was the only picture I found from the past, and there is a version where it's like colored, but the original was like that. So the last thing I'm going to show is Castle Birr. I recorded this more than a year ago. I didn't know about these things then. It was forbidden to drone there, so then I knew I have to wake up at 5, drive there, and before anyone waking up make this recording, which I did. And John Levy mentioned New Earth, and New Earth site has a list of sites, and this was mentioned. So I looked back the footage, and then I understood why. So this I wanted to share about Ireland, and this is just aimed to shout out to all the community. I'm really grateful, guys, you are awesome, and thanks very much. Have fun and stay cool. Ciao. Tolo out.